Hey, Shai. Hey, Nyasia, are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
Hey, how are things going?
It's going good. How are things going for you?
Going pretty good. I'm asking because I don't see any AWS stuff from you. Have you had a chance to follow up with any of the videos?
No, I'm still catching up. I wasn't on like last week, but I'm just now getting back on this week.
What can I help you with?
I don't know. I didn't really watch many of the videos. I watched one. So probably everything.
So what do you want to do?
Let me pull up something. 1 second.
Hey, Nathan, quick question. Are
Yep.
the servers up and running or did we not activate it?
We got a server running yesterday. Yeah.
Okay. I mean, I'm not freaking out over it, but I was just looking and there's like a pending charge on my account. So I was a little confused.
Yeah, we definitely have a server up and running as of yesterday. But I don't know if you'll actually get a charge for that. Probably getting charges from
No, it was like
Microsoft.
testing to make sure that, it was linked and all that.
Oh, I see. Hello, Tony. How are you doing?
I'm good. It's been a long week for me with stuff
Yeah.
going on, but I'm good. How are your babies?
Oh, they're good. They both have fevers and almost staying home watching them.
Nice. No mountain climbing going on?
No, not at the moment.
Good question. Anybody here know how to write a book by any chance?
With ChatGPT.
No, from the soul, not from the AI.
What did you say, Schneider?
If anybody here knows how to write a book.
I do. What are you trying to write something? Is that like an inside joke or, oh, okay.
No, I'm being straight up. No jokes here.
Oh, okay. You can always DM me. I can try to help you. I copyrighted a bunch of stuff and like I have all this stuff in the works. But
That's cool.
I'm curious, what kind of books did you write?
some poetry, spoken word, bunch of essays, different stuff like that.
All right, I will be bugging you then.
Okay. Nyasia, did I say that right? Were you all set? Weren't you looking for something or?
Yeah, I was looking for somewhere for him to start helping me, but I need like a lot of help. So I'll probably just schedule a one-on-one, to be honest, because I wasn't in class all last week.
Okay. Hello, everyone.
Hey, Patrick, are you there? Saw you for a second. Patrick. Hi.
I'm here.
Hey, how are you doing with AWS? You are muted.
All right, sorry about that. What did you say?
I was asking how things are going with AWS.
Pretty good so far.
Is there anything that I can do to help?
Um, so far, I've been getting help with Doug, or
Okay.
with Doug so far. But I can definitely brush up on some stuff.
Well, if you're getting help, then that's great. Just free to reach out if you have any questions or if there is anything that I can do to help.
Of course, thank you. Appreciate it. Sorry, my computer like messes up sometimes.
All good.
Okay. See, like, and now I'm trying to press the mute and it won't mute.
I'm just picking on people randomly before we get started.
Hey Nathan, do you mind if I schedule a Calendly with you to go over yesterday's first half of class? And since I've been doing it with the blog, it would just be cool to walk through it one more time with my capstone, if you don't mind.
Yeah, well, to be clear, we haven't done anything with the capstone yet. We're still working on the blog.
Okay.
When we
Yeah, I mean, just the steps that I've done so far with the blog, I haven't applied it to my capstone. So I mean,
right,
like,
none of us
okay.
have.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, shit. Don't listen to me.
Yeah.
I'm an idiot.
I mean, at this point, what we should have is we should have a front end that is working for the blog, and then we're in the process of getting our back end going. So so long as you have a working front end, really, that's it's about as far as we've gotten. But anybody can schedule a one-on-one with me or Latonia or Doug. So feel free to
Oh yeah,
take advantage of that.
I was looking for your one-on-one links, but I didn't see it on the Excel sheets.
On the Excel. Let me just jump in real quick. I wanted to say, you won't see me listed because my schedule has been so all over the place, but if people DM me, I do try to set something up. So
Okay.
were you talking about me specifically or were you talking about, okay, all right. Hopefully I answered your question.
Okay. Okay, so before we jump into class, I want to just say, I know we were moving pretty fast yesterday, and there was a bit of confusion going on around how to set up Elastic Beanstalk. So before we move forward with any of the stuff that we got to yesterday, gonna retrace our steps and just make sure that we're all in the same place. Today's class is primarily going to be about getting the back end running. Once we have the back end running, there's a couple other topics that that I'd like to cover, but I don't think that we're going to have enough time. And I think it's more important that we leave ourselves with enough time to get the capstone uploaded. So recall that I said that tomorrow is going to be primarily for working on our capstones. With any remaining time that we have today, we're going to go ahead and start working on capstones so we have additional time. Because I think there's a couple deploys that we're going to have to work backwards on and make sure that we get done with enough time. If we have any time remaining, we have all the capstones deployed. Then we'll use the remaining time to cover any of the extra DevOps topics that I have. Does that sound good? Sound reasonable? Okay. So let's go ahead and just jump right in. Again, I'm gonna actually one last item, two last items. Office hours, Saturday at 10 a.m. Probably going to be more capstone work, but if we don't have any capstone work, we get to talk about pretty much anything. I have some Terraform, which is a programming language. I have some Terraform stuff that I can show if anyone's interested. but office hours Saturday at 10 in the morning. And then the other thing that I wanted to ask is I just want to get a sense from people here. I know, just give me a thumbs up or a shake your head in in your camera. Just give me some indication who here has a working front end for their capstone. Thumbs up. Some kind of working front end. Okay. So pretty much everybody has working front end. All right. Who has a working back end? As in you can run it and it won't crash. Okay. Let me turn this around on somebody. What's the game plan here? Because if the end of class today and tomorrow is to get folks capstones deployed, I can help with the front end. Obviously, we can get the front end knocked out. What's the plan? What are people thinking for the back end?
My back end works. It's not crashing. There's only one thing that's not working on it. My database is working and everything else is working. There's only that one that to actually pick the pantry for it to work, but
Okay.
it doesn't crash the back end, only if you call that specific spot.
Okay. Okay. I'm gonna pick on somebody else then. Kalai. How are you doing with your back end?
I have a user like email, username, login, and password. So that's working fine, but I still I'm doing emergency department, so I still need to integrate a lot of my database into the backend.
Okay.
I'm also revamping my database as well because I'm gonna add the images, or at least attempt to.
Okay.
Hey, Nate, can I ask a question? It looks like
Yeah.
you're thinking while you're thinking. So do they have to have their backends like 100% or to work in AWS, or is it something that you can deploy and then just continue to work on and redeploy? Like I remember us doing that with Heroku, and I'm just curious if that's an option or if they really do need to be in a solid state on it.
Well, so the difference here with Heroku is that the difference with Heroku is that it's quite a bit easier it was quite a bit easier to deploy to Heroku. What I was hoping was with Heroku, it was quite a bit easier to troubleshoot if it was broken. With AWS, it's a little bit more difficult, but that doesn't mean that we can't figure out another approach here. Like the first option here is obviously whatever we have for the back end, we can deploy, whether it's running or not. My concern with that though is that if we don't have a running back end, my concern is that folks might get a little frustrated not knowing how to fix and figure out why the back end isn't running. And that's going to put us into a time crunch. I'm just gonna ask that for the folks that don't have a back end that is running, try to find some way to get the back end to run, either by commenting out the parts that are broken or reducing the scope of what your back end is trying to achieve temporarily. If you don't have a back end at all, feel free to talk to me as well, because I can help you get started with one using the blog example. But really, I really need folks to try their best to get some version of a working backend by tomorrow, if at all possible.
Hey Nate,
And maybe go ahead.
I have a quick, just to kind of interject, and I think maybe this may help some people. I mean, I'm all set on mine, but if you could you maybe clarify like what would be like the minimum like viable connection? Because I think like if for some people, if that might be just literally making the database connect to their homepage like through a use effect, you know what I mean? And 'Cause I think some people might get a little overwhelmed by thinking about they need all the tables and stuff in, and like they need all like the entities and everything connected. And I could just imagine that like just as a class, we're probably like very spread out as to where we are on that. So like maybe could you say like just to find a way, like, so for instance, when we set up our server, like we add a little console logger that just says like connected to DB successfully or something like that. Or maybe when we set up the database. So like could you maybe make it so that like everybody's page, like at the very least, like is like running a use effect that connects to that shows that the database is connected, you know? And that, I think that's an easy like starting point for everyone. And then from there, you know, we can go for, you know, what tables and stuff you have, but that'd be after it's all connected. Just a suggestion.
Yeah, totally. It's up to everyone. Like, if that means chopping the DB completely just to get your API routes running, to get your endpoints working, that's fine too. But whatever so that you can get your back end into.
Because like, and just to clarify, because you know what I'm saying, right? Like, I get what you mean about like if some people might already have routes and stuff set up, but it's like even if you just set up a simple like get to like the index, just to show that your whatever website you have, whatever sites you have is actually connecting to the database. Now it might be throwing errors when you try to like query it and stuff, but like, you know what I mean? And I think a lot of people might not even be there yet. Like they might not have even gotten to like the DB successfully connected. I think that's a good place to start at least. Okay.
Are you talking about like without the model?
Well, I mean, so like it has when you say the model, what do you mean? Like specific model, like the user model? Everybody's model is
whatever is
setup is going to be a
model,
little different.
everybody has,
Yeah. Right. So like I would say for the setup though, the initial like Alba talked about how she has a login, and I think Kalai is the same place. Like technically that's a database that's connected. You know what I mean? Because you would have to check those passwords and everything. And I think for some people, again, that's another example of you don't have to have like all of your routes and everything working. I would say just like, you know, either have your password authentication set up or just literally connecting to the database at all. And then like from there. All right.
Just to illustrate, let me show before we answer more questions, because I see what you're saying, Brian. I think that's a really good a good approach. Like, let me just share my screen. So this is the blog, right? This isn't a capstone, but let me just share what the bare minimum for a database connection would look like. So it wouldn't have any of the models. It could probably not even call db.sync, because what does db.sync do?
Thanks to the database, right?
I'm asking because I really don't know. It sounds like from the comment, it sounds like from the comment it creates the tables that they don't already exist.
I think it's basically right there. It uses the models and it takes the the attributes that were in the model, I think, and it builds it from there. That's my guess. I really don't know that one.
Yeah, I'm not. I'm really not a Node.js expert, but just to help illustrate, like the bare minimum to have a deployed backend that connects to a database is really just this. It's depending on whether we're deployed, connecting using those variables that we talked about yesterday, or if we're running locally on our machine, using that, and then simply logging in. And then there's still time between now and the capstone presentations to continue to work on your models. But if it means kind of slimming down a little bit of what your capstone backend is doing, so that we have something that can stand up and not crash, and we can practice deploys with, that will really help us today and tomorrow. And I've made a note of that. So if we've got some folks that need a little bit of help doing that on the capstones, we can work on that today. Let me go ahead and answer some questions. So Marshall, what's on your mind?
Yeah, so I need a little bit of help with my front end. Possibly you can help me after class today. Hopefully it's something that can be fixed within like 15 minutes, because my drop downs stopped working. And I kind of need the drop downs, I think, for like my back end stuff to really like take effect.
Okay, sounds good. Yeah, let's do it.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Kalai?
Alba is first.
Oh, Alba, go for it.
I just have a thought, like Brian was saying, according to what the specifications are, mine is ready to deploy.
Okay.
It's not gonna crash. Everything is linking up to each other. So even if we put it up, it's nothing major is gonna happen. I just have to update that last thing, which we have a meeting on Friday for, so I'm not too worried about that. But I think a lot of people are in the same position as me where we don't have everything exactly how we want it. So that's why they're saying that it's not completely where it's supposed to be. But I believe everybody has at least one database that's linking up to the front end at all points, because Max was working on that with us.
Okay, okay, great. Kalai?
Yeah, so I agree with Alba, because our last check-in we did, like, they wanted us to have full stack, so it should have both back end and front end. So most of us, I think, have it. So my question is, once we uploaded the back end, like, is it possible for me to do all the changes and that's not gonna crash, right? Because like, I have my login and I can edit my patient name and age, but still I need to edit a lot of things. So that Max taught me how to do it, but it's just I need to do individual. I cannot do everything as a group. So it's just a lot of work at the back end. So, like, is that going to be a problem once I upload it into the AWS? Like,
So when you say that you're editing the items, are you talking about editing it through the database?
I don't get your question, sorry.
Then I don't think I get your question. Can you repeat the last part of your question?
So my login and password is working, which is a backend, but I'm still working on more like updating my database. Like, it's like a patient database. So when I upload in, when I add something in my backend, it's gonna show up in my front end. So that's but that's like, I have a lot of data. It's a patient data, so I have to enter each and everything. So that's gonna take some time. So I need to do over this week and next week. So is that going to be, if we upload the backend, is it going to be crash if I change anything later on?
It depends on what you change. What will probably get a little complicated is the fact that any of the patient data that you enter is right now is going into your local Postgres, right?
Yes.
So we just spun up another database, and any of that patient data will need to go into that database. So you'll be effectively managing two databases. So to answer your question, I don't know, because it depends on what kind of changes you're making. If you make changes to the models or the tables, then you'll need to make the same changes to the database in AWS. So it's really, I think your challenge is just going to be making sure that anything that you develop on your machine, you make sure to upload to AWS, and that's going to be that there will be some trickiness to that, and hopefully we should have time to cover that today and tomorrow in class as we continue to work on our backends. Okay, Jennifer.
Hey there. I'm just going to ask for some help as well on a break or after class. I can't get images for my projects to cooperate with me. I'm trying to get those into my portfolio page.
Okay, fair enough. We can work on that.
Thank you.
For your portfolio or for your capstone?
Portfolio.
Okay, got it. All right. Anybody else got anything before we jump in?
I think I'll push it for tomorrow, but I would like some help populating a map for one of my pages. Try looking at the box, but it's tough.
Yeah, fair enough. Feel free to schedule time with me whenever. If we don't have time for any class, I'm happy to do it outside of class. Okay. So like I said, let's do a quick recap of where we're at and just make sure that everyone's on the same page in terms of where we should be at in AWS. So we've already talked about CloudFront and S3. If you don't have a working front end, if you don't have a working blog front end, talk to me, because this is kind of the prerequisite to moving on to the back end. And when I say a working front end, I mean you have your domain name linked up. Sorry, that's the wrong website. So you should have something like this, where you have an HTTPS secured website that has the front end code. It may still say Max's awesome blog, but you should have at least you should at least have your capstone Namecheap domain pointing to some front end code in AWS. Again, if you don't have that, please let me know, so we can so I can help you.
Mine's linked to the old survey form that we did for like the week 4 homework. I don't know why.
For
Is that
the
cool?
week 4 homework.
I think it was like the week 4 homework. I don't even, it was the assignment that we did on free code camp, like right in the beginning.
Oh, what do you remember? Do you remember if you set up S3 and CloudFront with us back on Thursday?
I did S3, but I don't think I was able to do CloudFront. I think you just said.
Okay, so
That was the day
go
I
ahead
came in
and
late because they made me work that day too.
okay. Well, just make sure it's some time, and we'll catch up with that. Okay. So Elastic Beanstalk. Let's talk about where we got to yesterday. So starting off, we need to sign into the console. Here's the link to get into the console again. And one more time, because I could just give you a lookable link. There we go.
So all the work that we did with Elastic Beanstalk yesterday, what is a good way of knowing what we did was actually working? I know our health is supposed to still be severe, but the platform state says supported. What else can I look for to see if what we did yesterday was right?
Good question. So let's get into Elastic Beanstalk. So click on Elastic Beanstalk here at the first page, or you can click into the search bar and go to Elastic Beanstalk. I'll post that link again if you want to just navigate directly to that. You should have one environment. You might have another one that says terminated. Ignore the terminated one. If you don't have a green check mark, like Al was mentioning, and your stuff is crashing, it's totally fine. It's expected. Mine, I can't seem to get to crash. Don't know why, but I'm just gonna run with it because I don't really need mine to be crashing at this point. Here's how you know that you have everything set up. So you should have an environment, meaning that you see a page similar to this. Again, if it says severe or warning or something along those lines, totally fine. The other thing that you should have is an RDS database. And to find out if you have an RDS database, you can go over to the side and click on configuration. So configuration under your environment. It's going to load a whole bunch of settings, but the most important one is down at the very, very bottom. You'll know that you have RDS set up if you have something that looks like this on my screen. So it should have a link to some kind of hash URL to a database. If you have this, you're all good. If you don't have this, let me know and we'll quickly run through how to set this up. Does anybody not have a database?
Is that under Elastic Beanstalk? Is that what you want me to catch up on tomorrow?
Do you have Elastic Beanstalk set up?
I just typed it in because I saw it on your screen, but I have no idea what it is.
Okay, yeah, then we'll probably need to catch up on that.
Okay, yeah, I can wait. I can just observe today, and then I usually learn super quick in a one-on-one anyway.
Okay, sounds good. Anybody else not able to get to a database? Assuming everybody else has one. Okay. So if you have a database, you have an Elastic Beanstalk environment, you're all caught up. So let's refresh ourselves on where we got to yesterday. And to do that, I'm going to go and look at the logs. I'm going to go and see what is happening with my app. What is the latest thing that my app is telling me? So I'm going to click over on logs. I'm going to go up to request logs. I'm going to go and get the last 100 lines of logs. And I'm going to download that. So please go into your capstone and do the same thing. Go into logs, request some logs, and open those up. We're going to need to figure out what's going on with our service. Okay, so it looks like our app is crashing. Is anybody, Alba, can I pick on you for a minute? Can I get you to share your screen and show what your logs have? Okay, so remember that these log files are kind of smushed together. There's a bunch of logs in here. The most important one, though, is the web standard out log. So if you scroll to the very, very top, here we go. So scroll a little bit further down to the bottom. So these are the same logs, but they're spread out over a period of time. Notice that the last error there is an econ refused error. So it's failing because it can't connect on 5432. Anybody remember what that error is related to?
Localhost.
Right, localhost 127.0.0.1 means localhost. So you remember what the fix for this is?
I thought we put in the new site or the new route, the if statement in the server.
Exactly, right. So what we need to do is we need to change that and then redeploy our backend code. So I'm going to go ahead and take over screen sharing. I'm not sure if we got to this at the end of class yesterday, but let's all do this really quick, and just to make sure that Kalai, go ahead.
I tried doing the back end after our class yesterday. I tried twice or thrice, but it wasn't uploading. It was crashing. So,
do you mind sharing screen?
Yeah, you go ahead and do it because I need to find where it is exactly in my desktop. Sure. Yeah.
Sounds good. So for the rest of class, let's go and deploy the blog backend using deploy the blog backend, but using that if statement that we had yesterday. So again, that piece of code is in Slack chat, but I'll actually push this up using GitHub Desktop and send the entire piece of code here. To do that, I'm going to commit. I'm going to commit my files here in GitHub Desktop and push that up. So before I do that, though, I am going to delete this zip. Okay. So here's that change that's showing up in GitHub Desktop where I edited that SQLized statement to now switching the DB connection based on whether we're running with RDS or not. So I'm going to go ahead and commit this and push this up. So and you don't need to do this on your, I'm just pushing this up so I have some code to share with everyone. Once I push this up, okay, once I push this up, I will now have a link. So let me paste this in Zoom chat. So that in Zoom chat, I pasted the link to the file. So if you want to grab that piece of code, you can. But otherwise, what I want to go ahead.
Once we post that snippet into the code itself, we're supposed to do another archive, or we need to do
Right. So after you've changed your code, so once your code in your blog backend looks like this, meaning that you have this if else statement in there, once you have that, then we need to bundle this up into a zip and upload it to our Elastic Beanstalk. And I'm going to walk through that here in about 15 seconds, just to give folks time to, if they don't already have this if else statement, to go ahead and add that to your blog backend. Go ahead, Glenn.
It's ready now. Can I share it now?
Yes, please. That'll just give people more time to add that if else to their blog backend. Go ahead. Okay. So what are you trying to do?
I was trying to deploy the backend code into the upload in the AWS.
Oh, sure. Yep.
I changed the code, everything, but still it's not uploading. So just
okay. So so we are actually just about to do that.
This is the code. Good.
Yeah, you're in the right spot. We're just about to do this. We're just about to upload this. But let's just go ahead and do it. Let's just do it while you're screen sharing. So to upload our backend code, the easiest way to do this is to open our backend code folder using GitHub Desktop. So go grab GitHub Desktop. Sorry, not the website GitHub, but the application on your computer, GitHub Desktop. Cool. And then switch your current repository from the portfolio to the backend. And we have been working on the blog backend. So flip to blog backend. There you go. Notice how GitHub sees that you've made changes to the code, which is fantastic. All right. Go up to repository up here. Let's open up a Finder window for your code. Show in Finder. Go back to hit cancel. Yeah. You want to save these changes. Go back up to repository. Click on Show in Finder. Yeah. All right. You can actually delete this node modules folder. We don't need to upload our node modules. Okay. Something else pop up? Look like a window popped up on your other monitor.
Yeah, it's moving. So okay, it's done.
Okay. So select all of these files. You can do that with drag and drop, or dragon, or you can hit Command A. And then right click. So we're going to make a zip out of this, right click, compress. Cool. So that's what we're going to upload, that archive.zip. So go back to, is it, no, that's the wrong tab. It's this one, I think. Yeah. Click here. Yeah. Yep.
No, yeah.
Choose file. Yep. All right. And then to get to that place where that archive zip is, go to your documents. GitHub. Blog backend. Yep. There's your archive. Open. Yep. And deploy. So that is all it takes to deploy your backend. You take the code, zip it up, and upload it.
I will see. Because last night I did the same thing, it crashed. So that's okay.
Sure. Yep. Yep. We'll stick around and actually I'm going to do that one more time. So before we jump into well, actually, while I've got you, click into logs. Let's take a look at your logs and see what the next error is. Yep. Request before we have to re-request logs. So close out of this. Okay, click the request logs again. There you go, last 100, perfect. Open the newest one, which is the bottom, yep. Cool, scroll down. This is the access log, we don't care about it. Keep going, keep going. Ignore all this. Keep going. Ignore the error log. Ignore this. Keep going, scroll. Scroll, scroll, scroll. Generous amounts of, okay, here we go. Now we are at the web standard outlog, and this is what's important. Okay, keep scrolling down. Now notice what's going on here. We are hitting errors. Okay, and then keep scrolling. This looks like these are new errors from today. Keep going. Keep going. Going. Okay, that's the end of the error log. So the last error log was about a minute ago, and it looks like it's crashing here, where it's still erroring, trying to get a database log, or sorry, a database connection.
So mine
Pull
has,
up.
mine has some errors, but it is going into like the select first name, email, password, create, at, and all of that into the database. It went into green check mark, and then it went back into orange and then to red.
Okay. I think that you might not have the database set up. Can you go back and show me here on this tab? Can you go back and show me down? Yep, click on that. Go to configuration and show me at the very, very bottom that you have a database. Yeah, you totally do have a database. Okay, great. Go back up here to logs one more time.
Click this.
And let's just request logs again. I just want to make sure that we have the most recent logs. Last 100 lines. Okay, great. Download that most recent file. Yep. Scroll down. Show me the very, very end one more time. Sorry, that's a bit too far. Go back up. Keep going. Keep going. Keep scrolling generously. Keep scrolling.
Oh, God.
Don't care about the Nginx error log. Keep going. Keep going.
Oh, it's end.
Then go to the very, very top of this file.
Is
Sometimes the ordering of these the logs are not there it is. Okay, so now we're starting to get back into our app logs. Yeah, so it looks like keep scrolling up a little bit more. Keep scrolling up, keep scrolling up, keep scrolling up. Okay, stop.
That's it.
So it looks like what happened is you actually had a working deploy right here. Is notice how it's starting to run into these errors where it's not able to find the table. You see that?
Yeah.
And then what I think is happening is we're actually not deploying the right piece of code. And the reason why I think that it's not the right piece of code, scroll down just a little bit more. Scroll down. Okay, right here. So, okay, stop. Too far. Scroll back up. There we go. So notice how here it says server running, but we don't have any of these console logs that are coming from your code, right? Because when we connect to the database, we're going to print out either connecting to RDS or there was another console log that's kind of hidden by this Finder window, connecting to RDS or connecting to localhost. So it makes me think that we're not actually uploading the right code.
I can check that one. So yeah.
Okay.
I have a question about like for the username, do we need to use ACAP or do I need to use my username?
So if you're using those variables, so the process.mv.rds username, if you're using those variables, you won't need to enter that at all.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. We will figure out why it's not connecting here in a moment. Okay. So going back, I'm gonna actually do a deploy on my end and show what that looks like. And I'm more than likely going to hit the same issue that Clyde's hitting. So if you haven't uploaded to your blog backend, follow along with me and we'll do it together. Again, we're going to start by opening up GitHub Desktop, going to making sure that we have the blog backend selected. You might have some code changes. You may not see these buttons, but you can at least go up here to the top and click repository, show in Finder. If you have node modules, feel free to delete them. You don't need to have those in order to do this. Select all your files, compress them, so make a zip. And then in AWS, we're going to go to our environment. There's that upload and deploy. And all we need to do is find where that zip is that we just made. The easiest way to get to it is to go to your documents. You can get to documents over here on the left. Go to your documents. There's a GitHub folder, and then open up the blog backend. That should be where your zip file is. And then just deploy it. Gonna take it a couple seconds. You might still have a severe, you might still have a warning, which is totally normal. But the most important thing is going over and viewing the logs. So again, over here on the left, there's a log section. Click on that. Make sure that you request logs. If you don't, you'll get the old logs. So make sure you request to get the most recent logs and then download it. Okay. What you're hoping to get, the error log that you're hoping to get to know that your code is working, you're connecting to the RDS database. You can search for this in your logs, but you're hoping to get something that says users does not exist, or there's another model. Maybe it says post does not exist. The blog backend has two models. So you're hoping to find some kind of error that says select blah, 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 where user email equals so-and-so, relation users does not exist. Clyde, do you have this error?
I'm checking.
Oh, okay. Anybody have this error?
I don't know if
Can
it
somebody-
helped you out. Can you hear me, Nate?
Yeah.
Okay. So at least I didn't see it in my logs. Oh, I looked, but I am getting something like that looks similar to that in my console. So like in the terminal, I should say, like, so the terminal console, when I try to connect to the database, it says export post is not defined in module.
Can you share your screen? Show me.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I think it's this one. Okay. So, and this might be, I wasn't sure if it was something that like I did while breaking this. Like I was trying to connect to the database after I pushed up the if statement that we made regarding the database. And so then I tried to start it up again, but I got errors and I looked in the log. I didn't see anything in there. But yeah, so this is what I got in here. But the thing is, like I'm going over, it says export post is not defined in the module, but I mean, it's definitely imported.
Yeah, but it's imported as a post model.
Yeah,
So
but
if you scroll down to the very bottom.
Yeah, we exported it as post.
But you're importing it as post models.
But see, like, and I thought that was odd too, but Max, that's how Max did it. And I actually asked him specifically about this, like if that would cause issues. He said it was like something about the way that he did it, because I thought it was odd too. Like it's this post model is pulling from post, right? And then, oh wait, is the post not in here anymore? No, it should still that should still work though, right?
So here's some code that you can use to import both of those. I just pasted in Slack chat.
Okay.
Both of those statements will allow you to import user and post and initialize them with the database model.
Okay, so should I put these in like
Just go up to the very, very top and change those requires, or sorry, those imports, change both of those. Yeah, drop lines 2 and 3 and replace it with the call statements. There you go. Now save. Requires not defined in ES because
oh yeah, we don't really use require, I don't think. Should I just export them as like post model? Should I do what we had before and just like literally
yeah, back up. Yep. Yeah, back up, and instead of calling it undo and then
I think when you copy pasted or whatever, I think you deleted post equals post model DB. I'm not seeing that comparing my code to yours. Yeah, I think that's what you're missing.
Where do you see that, Schneider?
On my code, it was line 22, 23, where we made a statement const post equals post model DB. I think that's the problem. I could be wrong though. I'm not too good at it.
Yeah, well, we just put them at the top, which doesn't it doesn't make a difference where those were. Brian, you
I'm gonna
can
try is-
export.
Oh, I'm sorry, I don't want. I'm just gonna try to export them like literally as they're named up here.
Okay.
Post model and user model. Oh wait, but that's okay. Yeah, let's try that. 1 second.
Can you come and see a couple of steps and see if maybe the line that you deleted was too much than what it was supposed to be?
1 second.
I'm pretty sure this won't. Yeah, go ahead and save. Let's see.
Yeah, it's still not. It's not
Did you
like.
save?
Yeah. Does not provide an export name post model. I'm so okay. The requested model db.js does not provide an export name. Okay.
But before we get too deep into this, can you show me what GitHub looks like?
When you say what GitHub looks like,
Yeah, GitHub desktop.
okay. I mean, this is GitHub desktop. This is like that folder, but
Yeah. But show me GitHub desktop. Okay, so click on db.js. Yeah, show me the changes made here. So it's user and model. I think we want to change that back to
the
user.
wrong word in there. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. It was okay. So yeah, post user. I'm sorry.
That's okay.
Um,
And save. Let's see how that.
export post is not defined in module.
Yeah, and that's because up at the very top you've got again you're not calling it post, you're importing it as an alias called post model. I really do think that you should be able to use that const user equals instead of those import statements.
This was working though. Like this was 100% the syntax that Max used when we were doing this locally, and this has been working locally. I'm not sure if maybe the database doesn't like that kind of syntax, but and if it says post is not defined in the module, right? So it's saying first we're pulling it in from post.js, right? This is the post page, all right, the post model, and we're exporting that as default post, right? So that's why the db.js is able to pick that up as, you maybe think that's the issue because it's exporting this as post and it's being imported into db as post model from, but that should be fine, right? Because it's a default export, right?
Well,
and it's the only.
The issue here is that, yeah, you can import post, but notice that post is an anonymous function that takes one argument. It takes a database up on line 3. Notice that it takes the database as a parameter. So it's not enough to just import post. You also need to call the function post and pass it a database object, which I don't think you can do until after line 21 to Schneider's comment earlier. So I think actually what we need to do, go back to the very top, nuke lines 2 and 3, and then take that snippet and put it after lines. Scroll down a little bit.
You said the snippet. What snippet? The one that you posted?
Yeah, the one in Zoom chat.
Oh, okay. I gotta go pull that up again. 1 sec. Oh crap. All right.
And then come down after the DB gets initialized after that if else statement. Keep going around line 20. Paste that. Yep, paste that in. Cool. Now we have a DB object we can use to instantiate both this function. Save. So this issue where it's talking about require not allowed to be is not allowed to be used. This is another issue.
Yeah, I don't.
I'm not sure if this is.
But I remember Max saying something about like require being like like outdated, or I got the impression like it was just more so like it could
I'm
still work, but like I
just
didn't think.
spitballing, but I kind of remember saying we had to do like type module in the JSON so you don't have to use require. But I don't really know.
Well, I know that it works because we've all been able to use it. We've all been able to use require for the blog backend, but I'm not exactly sure why it's not letting you use require here, or why yours is any different from the rest of our stuff. Like, for example, if you open up server.js in the top, are you not using require in server.js? No, you have all imports.
Yeah.
Import statements. Okay.
Yeah, this is taken from my blog backend, and I'm sure for most people in the class, this is mostly taken like work we did together with Max, and we don't really
Can I
use
take control?
require. Yeah, sure. Oh, you control that, right? Yeah, go ahead. Oh.
So if we can't do that same syntax, then what we would have to do instead is still something similar, where we're going to need to create objects by calling like user model, because user model is a function, and post model.
Hey, Nate.
Yep.
That looks like what Snyder posted. He posted some variables with
Oh, the
similar
exact same thing.
So yeah, I wonder if that's just what he was missing. Do you see it in the chat?
I do. And yeah, sure enough, that fixed it. Yeah, good catch, Snyder. So yeah, if you're using the import syntax, talk to Brian, because Brian has the hookup on imports. If you're using require, then just let me know. And if require isn't working, just let me know.
All right. Well, thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you. Good catch.
But now that you have that working, are you able to upload that to Elastic Beanstalk? I don't think we answered that.
I'm sorry, what would you say? Am I able to do what with it?
Are you able to take that code, zip it, upload it to Elastic Beanstalk?
Oh, I'm getting ready to do that. I had did that before, but it was missing this, so that would have been the issue. So I'm gonna do that, and I'll report back. Thanks.
Okay, cool. Anybody having trouble uploading their Capstone backend, or sorry, blog backend to Elastic Beanstalk?
Could I share my screen? Because I don't really know what I'm looking at with the logs.
Sure. Yep. Go ahead, Schneider. Okay. So just for everybody else that's watching, remember that we don't care about anything except for the web standard out log. So keep scrolling. Okay, stop. This is exactly the area you want to see. Relation users does not exist. So you're doing great. Relation users does not exist is the next issue we're gonna work through. Jennifer?
Hi, I haven't used the require, but it looks like I've got everything in Beanstalk. Can you look and tell me if I'm correct on that?
Absolutely. And then we'll hop over to our show and we'll be. Okay. So you've got an econ, you've got an error. It's saying that it can't connect to the database. Scroll down a little bit more. Let's see if there's any more logs. That's it. Okay. And then this is old. These are old logs. These came from last night. So let's, so Jennifer, do me a favor and do another upload. Upload your blog backend. To do that, yep, go to your environment. And then we're going to upload and deploy. Have you done this already today?
Not today. I just did it last night.
Okay. Yep. So let's just do this real quick. You have an archive yep, documents, GitHub. Yep. Blog backend. Yep. Before you upload the archive.zip, let's just make sure that it's got the correct stuff in it. So Leave this window as is, hop over into GitHub Desktop, go package up that archive one more time. You're in your blog backend. Awesome. Show me, yeah, click on that. Let's see this really quick. Yeah, this is missing that if statement, that if else statement.
Oh, okay, I have to.
But we haven't added the if else statement yet. So let's go in
I did.
actually this is in the archive folder. Let's clean this up. So go up to the top menu bar and open a Finder. So to do that, you're going to go up to the top menu bar, not in the app, but keep bringing your mouse up. There you go. Repository. Go in Finder. Delete this archive. This is just it's just a trash folder. Yep. Delete that. And then just delete the old archive. That's it. We'll create another one here in a second. Okay. And you're sure that you put the FL statement in?
I just did.
Okay.
A little while ago, but I forgot I had to update and push that.
Can you show me in Visual Studio Code just to be 1000%? DUJ.js, this looks great. And then you've got a terminal open. Down here in the terminal, just to make sure, type in pwd and hit enter. I just want to make sure you're in the right spot. Okay, totally. So you've got the change. It's in there. All right, let's bundle this up into a zip and let's push it up to Elastic. So back in here, yep. Select all this stuff. Exactly, including the folder. Yep, everything in there. Right click it. Compress. Now you can go back to that Elastic Beanstalk window you had open in your browser, and we can snag that archive.zip. So this, grab this, that right there, open,
Okay, right.
and deploy. Cool. And then let's just wait. Notice down here, we can see the logs for what's happening. It says it's deploying the new version to instance, which is good. Let's give it a second or two before we go and check the logs. Instance deployment is successful. About this time, probably a good idea to go hit the logs. Request the logs. So we get fresh logs. Last 100, yep. The newest one's going to be at the bottom. Perfect. Scroll down, ignore this big error log we don't care about. Going. All right, keep going. There we go. Stop. Scroll up a little bit. Scroll up, scroll up. This is the EB engine log. We don't care about that. Scroll up. There we go. So here is the issue. It says connecting to local database.
If I'm not mistaken, I think I saw her statement from her local host before she pasted her if statement, so that both of them are still in there.
Oh, good catch. So can we go look at the code one more time? Okay.
You go further up.
Scroll up. Oh, good eyes. Good eyes. Yeah. So here's the problem. We have a constant DB, so that's going to lock it to the contents of this new SQLized connection. And then when we get down here, it is upset because well, it's upset because we said that it was a constant and that box was never going to change. The contents of that box would never change. So Jennifer, delete lines 5 through 7. And then also move lines 6 through 7 because these require a DB in order to initialize both of those. Move lines 6 through 7 until after the if else statement. So around line 20-ish. Yep. Okay, great. And then the last thing, scroll back up to line 6, and we need to define a variable to hold DB. So just say let DB.
Elect DB.
Yep. So back up and say let to initialize a new variable. Yep. Let and DB. Semicolon, and that should be it. Now, what is interesting, so Jennifer, then save and repeat that process, make it archive, upload it to Elastic Beanstalk.
I'll work on that in the background. Thank you.
Yeah, okay, but before I let you go though, before I let you go, did anybody else notice that it was connecting to the local database? So it actually printed out the console log for connecting to the local database. So Jennifer, can you share your screen just one more time?
Sure.
Back down in the logs, it was saying that it was connecting to the local database, which means that it looks like it wasn't. So back in Elastic Beanstalk, yep. Go back to the Elastic Beanstalk environment. So back on that tab. Stay in the browser, go back to Elastic Beanstalk. So up here, this tab. Yep, and then go to configuration and just show me that you have a database. Scroll down to the very, very bottom of this. Okay, so Jennifer, click on edit here. And let's add a database to your Elastic Beanstalk. So let this render. Cool. Switch the engine to Postgres. Postgres. And does anybody remember the instance class?
What?
Like DT3 micro.
T3 micro, yep. So click on instance class, scroll all the way down. It's gonna be like 3/4 of the way in. Keep going. T3 micro right here. Okay, scroll down. Give it a username and password. Like username, a good username could be main. You can really call it whatever you want. Just make sure that you keep track of this. Cool. And then change the snap deletion policy, change that to delete.
I just write that down. Change this to what?
So change that to the delete deletion policy, and then hit apply. All right. Now all that's left, Jennifer, is just upload that. Upload another zip. So create another zip and upload it. But you should have a database now, which will help.
Huh? Yeah. This all worked last night, but
Cool.
what was different? What happened that I did wrong?
I think we just forgot to spin up a database for you. That's about it.
Huh? Because I remember all of this, but I missed something apparently. I'm sorry.
Nope, you're all good. No apologies needed. Arturo?
All right. So last night I uploaded the back end.
Mhm.
Ran the error logs last night, ran them today. I did not include the if else statement. Excuse me, I was trying to copy them from off your screen, so I didn't do it fast enough. So that's where I am.
But we've got better than copy pasting off my screen. There is actual code that you can steal. So just go to that last link that I posted in Zoom, click that open, and there is the whole contents of db.js.
Ah, All right.
Give that a shot and report back.
All right. Thank you. Thank you.
Brandon, what's up?
So instead of users does not exist, I have the directory platform hooks post deploy does not exist.
That sounds interesting. Can you share your screen?
Yay. All right. What's going on here?
So I'm gonna stop you, and this is just more troubleshooting practice for the rest of class. Does anybody have any ideas of what's going on here? We back up and say, what are we looking at? Does anybody know what we're looking at here?
Off the bat, I mean, something with the path not existing. I think.
Good guess. I don't know what we're looking at. Remember when we request the logs, we get like a ton of stuff. We get a ton of stuff smushed together in one file. So the most important thing is ignore the noise and focus on the web.standardout log. And the easiest way to find that is to just search in this file for web.standard web.std. There it is. So web.standardout.log. So this is where the meaningful logs start. So scroll down a little bit, Brandon. It looks like I remember that these timestamps over on the side are in UTC. So they're, for you guys, it would be 6 hours ahead. So these are all from last night. So keep scrolling. There we go. There's the 2310s. So this is perfect. I see the error. Does anybody else see the error?
Syntax error?
I see a syntax error.
Oh.
If somebody sees it, please call it out.
Oh, the let DB. You got 2 L's.
Nice. Yep.
Oh, I thought I fixed that. Hold on. Maybe I didn't say it. Okay. I'll be right back.
Hey, and one piece of advice, Brandon. Don't forget when you're zipping up stuff, delete the old archive.zip just
Yeah.
to make sure that you are accidentally re-uploading the same thing, because I do that all the time.
Yeah, that sounds like it would be chaotic.
Yeah.
Thanks, guys.
Yeah, thank you. Good debugging, good troubleshooting practice.
So when we're going through this, is it okay if it says app crashed?
Yes, we want the app to continue crashing. We still have things to fix. I'm just giving folks a little bit of time that are doing the redeploys, because I want everybody to get to the, I want everyone to get to the situation where it says users, relation users does not exist.
Brandon, are you talking?
Sorry about that. Just talking to myself because I did fix that double L thing. But yeah, it's still showing the same thing. Would I just have to re-upload another archive again? Oh,
Yep.
damn. Okay, let me try that.
Okay, cool. Well, in the meanwhile, I'm gonna go ahead and jump to the next hurdle that we're facing. If you aren't able to get the app to crash on the users does not exist, let me show that log again, just to remind folks what we're looking for. Here we go. We're trying to hit this error. Relation users does not exist. And I'll post that in Slack. So people know what error they're looking for. So this relation users does not exist. Does anybody have a guess at what might be causing this?
Users is the name of the table for the database. So I don't know, maybe something to do with that.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. So it's saying that it can't find the users table. If we look up at the previous log message right here, we can see that there's a select statement going on. So we're actually querying the database for something, and there's a clue here. It looks like we're querying and looking for somebody named Testy McTesterson. So that's kind of our hint as to what's going on here. It says users does not exist. Well, if I open VS Code and I look for Testy McTesterson, there it is. So what is this function doing? What is create second user doing?
Is this where the
database?
Is this where the if else statement comes in? There wasn't a user, so now it's created one.
It could be related to the if else statement, and it actually is related very closely to that statement in the DBJS file. That select statement that we see in the logs is actually this right here. So it's selecting from the database, trying to find a user called Testy McTesterson. And this line is crashing right here. And it's crashing because the table doesn't exist. Well, what creates the tables? What creates the users table? Does anybody know? What line of code actually creates the users table? We saw it earlier.
Was it the DB sync?
Exactly. Yes, it's db.sync. Exactly. So my question is, why is DB sync what's creating the tables? Because obviously we don't have the users table. Why is DB sync not running? Or if it is, why is it not running before this piece of code triggers?
I feel like it has to do with that if statement.
So let's walk through this. When does this code get triggered? When does the code in this file, when does this code get executed? Well, let's back up. Let's look at server.js. When does db.js get involved? Well, it gets involved here at line 15. So if we think of how our computer executes this code, it's following my cursor. It goes line 1, line 2, line 3, so on and so forth, right? It's occurring sequentially. We're requiring libraries, we're setting API keys, we're including the sessions library. All of a sudden we get to line 15 and we require db.js. Well, what does that do? Well, all of a sudden our execution stops. We jump into db.js and we start executing code here, right? Starting on line 2, moving to line 4, 5, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. All the way down to line 36, where we execute the connect to DB function. And then we jump in here. We wait for the DB to authenticate. So we wait for the database to log in. Is everybody still with me? Does this make sense? We get to the console log. This is why we see in our logs connected successfully. Then we get to the DB sync. Then we jump back. So now we're done requiring db.js. We're at line 15. We move on 16, 17, 18, so on and so forth. We keep moving down this file. So what's happening? Well, we start at the server, we start at the database, and then we jump back into the server to finish executing the rest of the code in here. So where's the issue? Well, the issue is that we're not awaiting the DB sync. If we don't wait for the database tables to sync before we start looking for first users and second users, we aren't guaranteed to have those tables available. So we have to make sure that we await the DB sync call before we move on.
Okay, Nate, I have a quick question, and this would
Sure.
kind of explain like why I have been feeling like so far behind this whole class. I'm curious, when did you this version of the blog backend?
Mhm.
When did you do this like with the class, or because I was under the impression that we were basically just making updates to the blog back in the front end that we had already been working on, right? So I'm looking at this server page, and that, I mean, like even the server and the DB page, they look way different from like what I have, like how the cores are set up and everything, and like at least where they're placed. So do you suggest that I just copy and paste like everything that you have? Because I've been going off of like what we were started working on with Max. This is completely different, like the requires and the stuff like that. So
Okay. Does anybody else have the same issue? Is their blog backend drastically different from?
I didn't make any changes other than that if else statement that you had suggested.
Yeah.
So mine looks like the same as it was beforehand, if that helps you, Brian.
Anybody
I-
else have a totally different DB.js?
On my server page is slightly different because I didn't do the authentication with class and all because
Yeah.
it relates to my stuff, but my DB.js looks the same, just not my server.
I'm more so referring to my server. The DB
Oh,
copied that over, so that would probably be the same. I think I had just missed those user models, but okay.
well, so if your code is
What you have in server, I'll just, that probably should like solve most of my issues. So, all right,
okay.
thank you.
Yeah, no problem. I mean, if your code is different, it's yeah, that's a little frustrating because we should probably be working off pretty much the same code base. But the issue is, I'm guessing, is probably going to be the same in both. Brian, at least in your copy of the blog, in your DB.js, did you await the DB sync?
We had to wait DB authenticate. We didn't have
Right.
await DB sync.
Okay. Yeah, so we need to make sure that we await the DB sync. So if you don't have await DB sync, please add that. Not only do we need to await the DB authenticate, but we also need to await the DB sync.
Could I request a live share by any chance for this part? Because yeah, to Brian's point, my code doesn't look like that.
Yeah, if you're going to, if you want, oh, like a live share so you can get into my code. Let me share. Is the copy. Here's a live share.
In the meantime, Nathan, I think I'm set because I went through the log and I found where it says knows that users don't exist.
Perfect.
Yeah, so I'm caught
That's
up.
the bug we're working on right now. You're all caught up.
And I do not have the same thing. I just have DB sync. I don't have await DB sync, but it's working.
Well, please add await.
Do that. Next to force false, right?
So wherever you're doing your DB sync after the authenticate, change it from DB sync to await DB sync. DB sync returns a promise, and we need to block on that promise. Okay, so that's step one. We need to wait for the database to sync. Okay. And the Schneider, are you able to get in? Yeah, okay. Anybody else wants to live share, feel free to. Otherwise, I'm going to push all this up to Git. So any of the code changes that you want, you can feel free to grab. More importantly, though, don't feel you don't have to do this for the blog, especially if your code is completely different. What's more important is that you understand these changes. So when we go to upload your capstone, you'll know how to make these changes for your capstone. So your capstone, when you're authenticating and you're logging into your database from a capstone, you don't forget to also do make these same changes. So by awaiting, go ahead, Archer.
Thanks. So I updated the code with the if else and I uploaded it and I just did the log. That's where I am now.
Okay, if you look in the log, do you see, let's quickly look as a class. You share your screen. We're in the web standard out log. This looks great. Scroll down. Scroll down, keep going. These are oldish logs. It looks like, keep going. Nope, there's a crash. And it's, if you scroll back up, looks like, keep going a little more. Let's just make sure that it's crashing. Server is running on 3001. I'm not seeing a log message that shows me that the if else statement is running. Can we can we quickly do an upload? Make sure that you're uploading the correct code. So if you go click to the blog backend on GitHub desktop, it looks like you're not making changes to the Git version of the blog backend. Otherwise, we would see some edits showing up here. So just to make sure that you're editing the right code with that if else statement, go click up on the repository, open in VS Code, show me db.js. Yeah, see, I think you were editing the wrong file. Click on whatever VS Code you have open over here. Grab this and just copy paste it over into this file because it looks like you were editing the blog backend the old blog backend. So grab all the code in here, Command A, Command C.
Like so basically from
Grab everything, Command A, Command C.
Okay.
Yeah, Command C, click back into blog backend over here. Yep. Command A, Command V. Perfect. All right. And then line 31, you have a slightly different db.sync. Throw in a wait right at the start of line 31. So await that db.sync.
So above it?
Right before it. Await db.sync. Perfect. Okay. And then let's save and bundle this up. So do that same thing again, where you save this file, open it up in Finder, compress it all into a nice little archive.
So this is the last archive.
That's the old one.
Right. So I'm going to remove that.
Cool. Grab it all. Command A. Right click, compress. Perfect. And let's go upload that to Elastic Beanstalk. So grab. Cool. Take us back to the front page. You can just click here. That
I'm
works
sorry.
too. No, that works too. You can upload and deploy. There it is. Cool. Yep. Archive.zip. Nice. Open and deploy. Let's just wait a second because this is pretty quick. So let's scroll down and see those events as the deploy rolls out. It says deploy new version. It's pretty snappy. And it's completed. Cool. Hop over onto logs again. Let's request logs and see what's crashing. That's the old. Yep. Good catch. Click on the bottom one. It's most recent. This is the web standard out log. That's great. Scroll down. We're looking for something within the last 4 minutes. Scroll down. There it is. And now we are hitting the same error that Brian had, where we are, let's see, where we're identifier sequelize has already been declared. Let's look at your code. Scroll up to the top. Going on here, const sequelize equals require sequelize. So we're double importing sequelize at the top. If you scroll up, look at line 5. We don't need line 5 because you're already importing it on line 1. So you can nuke line 5 and same thing, save, archive, upload.
All right. So get rid of this again.
Yep, same thing. And I'm feeling good about this one, so I'm gonna go ahead and leave you to it. But let me know how this one goes.
All right, I'll stop sharing. Oh, you got me covered already.
Gotcha. So I think this is probably a good time to take a quick break. Let's meet back at let's say 7:25. If anybody is having problems getting to the relation users, feel free to stick around and I'll do my best. Otherwise, we'll have more time to work on that tonight. All right, see everybody at 7:25. Go ahead.
Could you explain to me what the usage limit for free tier is?
It depends. There's AWS offers all sorts of stuff for free, and they put all sorts of limits on it. You can see what those limits are. Let me share my screen.
Yeah, I'm asking because, well, actually, my usual limit is 2,000 requests, and apparently I'm exceeding 85% of that.
Yeah, so for some of the products, it's extremely low. And we're going to blow right past them because I think for some of the products, AWS is like, okay, we'll give developers some free stuff, but just like a taste, and just to get them hooked.
Nibble.
Yeah, just a nibble. So, but really don't stress too much about the alerts. It's great to have kind of that gut reaction, like, okay, why am I getting these alerts? So not saying to not investigate those alerts, but the really important thing is, let me share my screen. The really important thing is to make sure that if we go to the AWS billing page, which you can get to again by going to billing up in the top and clicking on, oh, I'm at 67 cents. Going up to, let's see.
In the bank, Nathan. God dang, that's
Yeah, this is getting real expensive on my end. Going to, let's see, Cost Explorer would be a good one. I have all of this linked in the slides, but Cost Explorer will kind of show you the breakdown of where money is coming from. Like if I go to View and Cost Explorer, I can see that, well, I can't actually see because it's not showing me the breakdown. Let's see. Mentioned by service. Here we go. So we can see that the majority of my costs are actually coming from KMS encryption, which is the service that provides the encryption for the items in the S3 bucket. In close second is my actual S3 cost. So remember, we are charged not only for downloads of our files in S3, but also the privilege of renting the space. And then in third place is EC2. But let me paste this link. If anybody else is interested in exploring their AWS costs, this is kind of the easiest way to see what is costing the most money. If I can get my chat window open, here we go. Okay. So diving back into where we were before, we were debugging a pretty hairy race condition. And for those not familiar with the term race condition, it's a bug that pops up when we have things happening out of order, or we have things happening in an order that we don't expect. And right now, the race condition we're running into is where the app's standing up. It's looking for users in the users table, but the call to do the db.sync to actually create the users table for the first time hasn't finished. So we're crashing and dying. The app is crashing before this sync call has occurred. Your sync call might look a little bit different, but the solution here for this problem, and I'll post all of this later, these same code snippets later, but the solution to this is to await the DB sync. And then instead of just connecting to the database, there's two calls where we create the first and second user. If we take both of these and we move them from out of server.js, bring them into db.js. So I'm moving the code to create the first user and the second user, and then bringing it into the db.js file. And the reason why I'm doing that, I'm taking it out of server.js, so I'm no longer creating those initial users over in server.js. The reason why I'm doing that is because then I can have control over when these calls are fired. So what I want to have happen is I want to connect to the database, and then after we're done connecting to the database, after we're done doing the db.sync, then I want to create the first user and the second user. And again, I'll post this code here in a minute. So I'm primarily just wanting to quickly go over this so that we can move on to the next bug.
So to be clear, we're taking those statements out of server.js.
Mm-hmm. We're relocating them. Yep, okay. We're relocating them back to db.js. And the reason why is because we need those functions to be here in order for us to chain these three things together, to have them happen in the right sequence. Where the first thing we want to do is connect to stand up our tables. And then create models. So Brian, your code might look a little bit different because of how much more mature your code is from having worked on it. But for other people that have the exact same code, feel free to copy paste this. And what I mean by copy paste it is hold on 1 second while I upload this and upload this so the rest of the class has it. Sorry, fix race condition. Yeah.
What-
To get the changes to the code, here is a link to the changes that I made. So let me paste that here in chat. There's the exact changes that I made. So all I did was I added the await, like we talked about. And then I moved those files out from server.js into db.js. And then I chained those together to make sure that they occurred in the right order. Okay, while people are doing that, I'm going to quickly talk through the last. We really have three remaining. Items to fix before the backend will be completely functional. So there is a port environment variable that we need to have our server listen on. We also need to adjust our resource sharing options. And then there's the front end URL that Doug mentioned before that we need to adjust so that our front end can talk to the correct back end. So let me show you how to make the change to the port variable. It's really easy. The port is probably hard coded to 3001. Does anybody have something different in their server.js? You'll find what port that you're currently listening to. You'll find that wherever you see your server.listen statement. Does everybody have 3001 there? Does anybody have anything different? So we need to do the same thing that we did before, where we create a variable called port, and we'll let it start off containing the number 3001. But we're going to do that thing again where we check to see if there's a process.m.port variable. And this is one of those special variables that Elastic Beanstalk creates for us. If there is a process m.port, which means that AWS is assigning us a port number, then let's go ahead and assign that into our port box. And then we'll change, instead of using 3001 down here, we'll switch that to whatever is contained inside the port box. Again, this is one of those changes to allow us to pick the correct port based on what AWS is providing us with. And if you're not in the live share, I'm going to again push this up to GitHub so you can easily grab this change. Before I make a commit though, I'm going to also make the cores change because there's one other change that we need. So we've updated the port. The port's now going to work. We're now going to bind correctly based on the port that AWS hands us. The last setting that we need to change in the server is this right here. So can anybody tell me what cores does?
Kind of, I know it's kind of vague, but I know it has something to do with like making sure like the source of traffic is coming from where it's supposed to.
That's a great explanation. All cores is doing is it's limiting the sources of traffic. And why is that useful? Well, it prevents folks from talking. it can prevent folks from talking to your website that you don't want. So maybe we don't want folks that to build websites based off of our APIs. Well, how can we prevent that? By setting a cross-origin resource sharing restriction. Now, right now, the only website that's allowed to talk to our backend is localhost 3000. That's not going to work for our app that's deployed, right? Because our app, when we go and visit our CloudFront URL, we set that up to work with this domain name in the browser. So the domain that we bought on Namecheap. In my case, I set mine up using cohort3.com. What does that mean? Well, that means that I need to go into here and add another origin that's allowed to talk to this API. So to do that, origin will accept a string, which is what you see here. Origin is accepting the string HTTP localhost 3000. Origin will also accept a list of strings. So what we need to do is we need to update origin from being a single string HTTP localhost 3000 to a list of strings. So not only are we going to allow HTTP localhost 3000, but we're also going to allow whatever our domain name is that we're using for our front end. In my case, it's https cohort3.com. If you also are allowing www traffic, which I think everybody is that set up the same DNS records as me, then you would want to also add a third origin that's allowed to talk to your database.
So are we just adding our domains in there? Like
exactly. Yep.
Okay.
Yep. But most importantly, we need to change this to a list of strings. That's one of the big changes there. So if you're copy and pasting from my example, don't forget to change to obviously change your domain to using your domain. Okay, at this point, I'm going to actually commit and push this up so people that want to see this on GitHub can see that. So and then the link to all the code changes that I just made right here. With that, we have finished all of the issues related to the backend. So we're connecting to the right port. We are setting the correct database URL. That was the if-else statement. The preceding and async issues where we weren't pre-populating those tables or at least waiting for the tables to come up before we query for the first user, those are fixed because we added the await on the async. We added the await on the sync call to the database, and then we also added the promises. We also updated cores to allow our front end to talk to our back end. There's two other things that we need to do to finally have the front end talk to the back end, but we'll get to those here in a bit. It's just these 4 issues that we went through that we're trying to get resolved. And with these 4 issues, our back end should no longer be crashing. We should go from red severe to green. And I know I went pretty quick on these last 2 things. So I just want to give people a chance to be able to fix their blog backend. And just a reminder, if you want to see the finished files, I posted the link to this GitHub repo, and you can check out myserver.js in the changes that I made to port and the changes that I made to the core's origin list.
Do we create another archive and upload it, or is it just gonna automatically update?
We need to create another deploy for the back end. So if you're at the point where your code is good to go and you've got the core's origin, you've got the port, you've got the database, you've got all of those changes that we've gone through, if you're ready to go, feel free to make that deploy. So again, that's going to be doing it by making the zip. So you'll delete whatever old zip you have, package it up.
All right, I have a quick question.
Please.
When you change the information from the server to the DB file, the first user and the second user,
Mhm.
you put the rest of the information. That wasn't a transfer from one file to the other, right? That was just switching where it was.
It was switching where it was. Yeah, I took it completely out of server.js and moved it into db.js.
I
So
don't
both.
see any of that information in my server, the JS.
Right. So you shouldn't have the create first user function or the create second user function in server.js anymore. They should be moved to db.js. Do you want to share your screen and make sure that we're on the same page?
Yeah.
Cool. So you don't have anything. Oh, you have a server started function. That's also a function where you go and search the database. Take the server started function, everything from 95 to 105. Take that and bring it with you. So cut that and go to db.js. After line like 56 or something, go ahead and paste that. So let's bring that function over here too. And instead of calling server started on line 67, cut that as well on 67. Yep, cut that. And put it down in that block. So scroll down a little bit. Put it after, nope, keep cutting it. Scroll down. Put it right after line 72. So create the first user, create the second user, and then create your Alba user. Cool. I think you're all good.
That's everything I needed to take out of there, correct?
Yep, and then just for sanity check, show me in db.js, did you put no weight on the db.sync in db.js? You scroll up a bit, keep going. Yeah, line 29 looks great.
So all I had to do was do the server, the port in the bottom.
Yep, you got the port in the bottom. That looks great. And do you have cores at the top?
Yes.
Show me, let's see. Looks great. Yep, and that's a totally legal list. Great. Nice job. Schneider?
Could you explain what the or rather could you go over the code that we did to bind the port again?
Yeah, absolutely. Let me share my screen. So let port equals 3001. What is that doing?
You made the port equal to 3001.
Right. I made a variable. I shoved the number, the integer 3001 into it. Okay. And then I moved on to line 194. Process.m.port. This is a special variable that comes from AWS. And let me show you the actual documentation for it. Oops. So this is in the documentation, the manual for using Elastic Beanstalk. And right here, it says, The Node.js platform sets the port environment variable to the port that the proxy server passes traffic to. So to bind to the correct port and receive traffic, we need to bind to a special environment variable called port. Well, to do that in Node.js, the way that you read out those environment variables is using the syntax. You say process.env dot, and then whatever the variable is. So if we're running an Elastic Beanstalk is going to put something, going to put a number in this box. It's not guaranteed to be 3001. AWS assigns the ports. So we don't know what it is. That's different from when we run on our machine. When we run on our machine, we can pick the port because we're in control of the computer. But it's different for AWS because we don't control the computers. Therefore, we don't control the ports. So we have to let AWS assign us a port. So what's happening is we check to see if there is a special variable called port, if port is defined. If it is, if we do have a special port value, we overwrite the contents of our port variable. So we no longer have 3001. It's now replaced with some number that AWS gives us. And then we use that number on 199 to attach our server and start listening.
No, that makes sense. That's why we made it let mutable. So how would you know if
this
of course
good point. This would be a problem, right? Because we would try to mutate port. We're not allowed to do that because const doesn't let us mutate our variables. Go ahead.
So how would you know if Amazon didn't give us support, or the port connection didn't go through?
Well, if Amazon doesn't give us a port, we'd be in some serious trouble, because then we wouldn't have a way to bind to their, we wouldn't have a way to receive traffic. I think in this case, it's going to be safe to assume that AWS gives us a port, because it's in their best interest to provide ports to paying customers, even if all we do is pay pennies at this point.
Yeah, I was just gonna ask, is 3001 gonna be the fallback, or is it just big?
Well, that's a good question. So let's assume AWS doesn't give us a port. Then in this case, port would be undefined. Therefore, 194 would be falsy, and we would never execute line 195. So we would then fall back to port 3001. You're right.
Thank you.
If AWS doesn't give us a port and we fall back to 3001, we're still in trouble, because if AWS didn't give us a port, I'm sure 3001 is not the lucky number out of the 9,999 ports. I think there's more. Anyways, Alba?
Now the error code that I get is the import on server.js from DB post and users from db.js.
Oh, are you getting the same error that we had working on Brian's?
No, it's a different one. It's the import. It says error.
Share your screen, show us. The requested module does not provide an export name post. Yeah, go back, show us the code. This is.
So we
show
have
us db.js.
db.js has because we put module.exports now, but it used to be export to S.
So show me user and post, scroll up a little bit. User, keep going, keep going, keep going. Let's go up, 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 up. User is declared on line 21 and 22. So those are two valid. Keep going up. Post model and user model. Okay, so you import both of those and then you instantiate them on line 21 and 22 with a valid DB object. That makes sense to me. And then you export them at the end, module.exports. Looks valid to me. Show me that error one more time. Does anybody else see something obvious here that I'm missing?
would it affect it? This is just throwing it out there. Would it matter if in the package.json we have like type module?
Oh, yeah, that would change, that would change whether or not you're able to use the require statement, I believe. But Alba is using the import syntax, so I think we're fine. That line there, if you go back to the logs, what, one more time, what is the actual long version of that error? It says the requested module does not provide an export named post. Okay, go back. It's not. So let's follow this really carefully one more time. So in db.js, take us to db.js one more time. Let's trace the post. So on 76, we're exporting it. And where is post created? It's created on line 21 from post model. That's makes sense. All right, well, if we can't get this to work, let's run it locally. So Alba, do an npm start down the terminal and let's see what happens when you just run this on your machine. Or sorry, yeah, npm start. Okay, so same error. db.js does not provide an export name post.
So this is another thing that's like, so I kind of like came up like with my theory of like what happened, like my code is so different. All right, so just to backtrack, Thursday, our last day with Max, like we left off on like the blog project, and somebody in the class can interject if I'm wrong, right? But when we left off, we had only done like a few routes. Like all these routes that I'm seeing now on the server page, like I don't think we had done those at the end of class.
No,
So I don't know if like
the project he's
Go
using
ahead.
right now was uploaded to Heroku, which we didn't do that. So that's probably the project that he used on cohort 3, not on cohort 4.
Okay, so like I'm just trying to understand. So like what we're pulling from now is like on GitHub, and like Alba, do you get what I'm saying? Like where
So the information
when
that
did
he has in there was from cohort 3, and he didn't do the class exactly to our class. So there's
right
other information in there that's we don't have.
that's mixed up, right? And I think that like there's some like if some people had files from last class, so for example, like this post model that we had, like when we worked on that with Max, like it was different than this. It didn't have module.exports. It was exported as like default, or it was
Default,
exported.
and that's
Yes.
it's not.
So like all these module exports and stuff, I'm not sure if that might be clashing with like some people might have files like, so for instance, this is what I did. I didn't copy from GitHub until like really just like maybe an hour ago. I normally just like try to work on my code like as we work on it in class, and like I really only copy and paste if I really need to, but that's just my personal thing. But I eventually found out like when I'm seeing all the requires and stuff, like I know specifically Max, like he has made intentional like, and I'm not saying that you're doing anything wrong. Like when I started seeing the requires, that's when I kind of knew like, oh, the chunk of this code is very different than what we worked on with Max. So it's like what Alba said, like there's the stuff that's on GitHub is probably mostly what was from last semester, but we're on a whole different thing now. We're using a different hosting, we're using different like services and stuff for the database. So all that to say, I know that was a lot, but like that might be causing like crashes and stuff. Because if I'm not mistaken, isn't the point of adding a type module to the package.json, isn't the point of doing that so that you don't have to put the module dot, or did I interpret that wrong?
Yeah, and the require as well.
So all of these are valid points. The issue here that is occurring, the syntax error, is that it's saying db.js does not export a post. So let's do this. Brian, can you share your screen and show us how your code exports post?
Well, that's the thing. I mean, I just eventually I started running in this like kind of so many like clashes. I just copied everything over from GitHub. But I would say if I could go like off of memory, so like that post was like that statement that's in there now, the module that exports, I'm pretty sure that was just like const post equals, and then everything else that's in there, and then it was export default post. Does that make sense?
Mhm.
Yeah.
So I changed it to export default posts and it was still telling me that I'm not.
Can I take control for a second and try some things? So the most recent error we've got here is saying that we can't reach. So it's saying that db.dbjs does not provide an export name post. But although we're not using the same syntax, like the package JSON, the type, even though we're not using the same syntax, module.export, as far as I know, should continue to work. We should be exposing a post here. The confusion that I think is occurring is up here where we're importing post model from post.js. This also exports a post object, right? So we kind of have two clashing post objects. And the one way that I know of to get around this is we can also do like an export here. And we might also be able to do an export here. And then we don't need to have this module export because I think that is the old style of doing things. And then we would need to also export db. Now we're on to a different error. If we look at this, we're connected to the DB successfully. It's complaining about line 55. It's saying that bcrypt is not defined, which means that we're missing the library import for bcrypt, so we can bring the bcrypt library over. And now we're connected to the DB successfully. So the issue that is going on is that Max handed me a copy of the capstone right before y'all started on the full stack. So that's the snapshot that I have. It's not from last cohort. It's literally the one that you all started on. It sounds like in the middle of the full stack dev, there's a transition from like the old school imports using require and module exports to the new ES6 version of imports. Maybe it's not ES6, I'm not sure, but somewhere along the line it changed. And that's definitely my bad for not getting the most recent final copy of this, because I'm realizing that we're all at various different stages in the blog. As a bailout switch at any point, folks can feel free to either continue hacking what you got, which is totally fair, and I would applaud you if you were to stick with whatever version of the blog that you have, because I think that would be great debugging practice. But at any point, if you want to bail out and work off of what I'm working on, there is a link in the slides, and I will find it real quick. I'll try to find it real quick. There we go. And that will take you to the exact same code that I have for the back end. But yeah, again, that is 100% my fault for not having the most recent up-to-date blog backend. I apologize for not having that.
Oh, it's all good.
So our goal still remains though the same. We're trying to get the backend deployed and standing up, not crashing. To upload the backend, just a reminder, is the same thing that we've been doing. It's creating a zip, uploading it to Elastic Beanstalk, and then checking the logs and seeing what's going on with our server. If you did everything correctly, if you've got working code for your blog backend, then the server should go from being in severe to green. And that's what we're looking for. We're looking for our backends to be healthy. So at this point, I'm going to, since I just went and uploaded mine, I'm going to go dig into my logs and make sure that I'm not lying to anybody. and I actually have that we actually squashed all the remaining bugs, and I actually have a working backend. Okay, I'm hitting that bcrypt error that the Alba had. I'm gonna go and fix that in my code. Because when I asked the class to move those two functions over, we actually moved over the bcrypt function call, which means that we need to import that library. If you're using the module syntax, it won't look like a const bcrypt. It'll look something more like import bcrypt from, and then it'll look, the syntax will be a little bit different. Yeah, I think that's the last issue for. That's the last issue for the back end. And deploy. Anybody got a successful deploy? Anybody got a failing backend deploy after these changes?
So the last line should say connected to DB successfully.
Yes, and it shouldn't say anything anymore because it means it's running. Are you good, Alba?
A green check with okay.
Cool. We got one.
I'm still pretty severe.
Can you share and we could do a group debugging?
My pleasure. All right. These are my logs.
Scroll up. I think your web standard out log is up there. There it is. And parameters undefined. Relation users does not exist. So we're hitting that race condition where we're not waiting for the tables to get created before we query. Let's check the code.
Definitely put in a wait in front of it right
Totally.
here.
And then the connect to DB call down below, keep going. So you connect to DB, then you create the first, then the second, then you do your server started.
Yeah.
This all looks
And I
correct.
had, yeah, because I had the same code as Alba with the server started, so I moved it when you were fixing hers.
Okay, go to the top. Show me that you're importing the bcrypt library. Yeah. Don't forget to import bcrypt from. Yep. Bcrypt from.
Oh man, I was hoping you'll do it for me. From
It's just bcrypt.
okay, bcrypt.
Bcrypt within the quotes, I believe. Yeah.
Mhm.
Cool. And then server.js. Let's see. So scroll down. Is there anything going on? Oh, line 50. Server
50.
started is still getting called. We don't want to do 40 through 50. You move that into DBJS. So 40 lines 40 through 50 up above.
Mhm. Yep.
Nuke all that.
Oh,
You move that into the
yeah,
file.
gotcha. Yeah, I did.
Fire
okay.
away.
All right.
Re-upload.
I'll see how it goes.
All right. See you in 2 minutes. Anybody else? Can I pick on you, Arturo? How's yours going?
Poorly, because my Wi-Fi dropped out on me, so I had to reset my my router. So I haven't any changes to the server port. I didn't cut and paste any of that stuff.
Okay. Can I get you caught up?
Sure. All right.
We got other people. I think other people are uploading to see if they've got a working backend. So now is as good a time as any.
All right. So we are. All right. So this is my server part. So I have
Are
to,
you sure?
yeah, that would make perfect sense. All right, can you see my screen?
Yep.
All right.
Scroll to the very top. You're using a mix. Okay. Dang, I'm glad you, Brian, I'm really glad that you figured this out for us because now things make a lot more sense. Because now I can tell what people are using based on their import statements. All right, scroll to the very, very bottom. All right, we want to move line 87 through 97. Grab all that server started stuff. Grab all of that. Cut it. 87 through 97. Cut that. Go back to db.js. Scroll to the bottom. Put that like right around line 39. A couple more. Yep. There you go. Paste that in. And then we just need to chain stuff together. So we have the connected DB statement. You've gotten a weight in there that looks great. So connect to DB, then, so let's chain a promise. Has anybody in the cohort gone over promises using the .then syntax? So, okay, so it's familiar.
Yeah, it's familiar. We normally use, we started to use async, but yeah, we should be familiar with that.
Okay, so do connect to DB. We're still going to do a function call, so keep the parentheses at the beginning, and then after the, do you mind if I take over for a second, Arjo?
Go for it. It's a lot faster that way.
So we're going to connect to the DB, and then we're going to call server started. So we're going to wait for the connected DB to occur, and then we're going to do the server started. The by moving that function over, we also need to have the bcrypt library because we do a call to hash the password there. So we're going to take the bcrypt library, make sure we do an import of it over here. And then your connected DB looks good. The server started looks good. The other thing that we talked about was in the CORS settings, updating this to also include your domain name. Can you grab that?
With the HTTP version?
HTTPS. I think you got a working SSL certificate.
I did. All right.
Cool. All right. And then I'm just going to take over for a second. I'm going to also give you your, oops. Also going to give you your www version. So you also want that. Close that. Cool. So now all those sites can reach you. And last but not least, let's do the little port deal to be able to get the graphic port that's assigned to us by AWS.
Then the port equals process.
Exactly. And then we'll, instead of hard coding 3001, we'll use whatever the contents of the port box, whatever the contents of the port box are. Okay. And then before I let you go, let's just sanity check before we spend, n number of minutes creating the archive, then uploading it, et cetera. Let's open up a terminal and just sanity check that if we do an npm start, we can at least run it locally, so we know we have valid code locally. And sure enough, we hit an issue here. It's saying cannot find. Oh, npm-i is just short for npm install. All right, now let's do npm start. Let's see. Connected to DB. So it the code's good, at least for localhost. So that tells us that, at least half of this is working. So at this point, it would be worth it to compress all this into a zip, upload it to Elastic Beanstalk, and see if you have a healthy deploy.
Okay.
You're very close, Archel.
Thanks.
Anybody else? Anybody, Kalai?
I have a problem in my backend, like when I did the npm start, it shows error.
Can you share?
Yeah.
Module not found. Close the server. I think you probably have the same thing. Run npm install before you run start. So Control C, click into that terminal. Control C to kill yep, and then npm install. So make sure that we have our node modules. Yep. And then after this finishes, npm start again. And it crashed. Okay, what's the error this time if you scroll up? Going. Hack upstate does not exist. So it's complaining about connecting to your database. Keep scrolling up. Let's see. Let's make sure that it was actually connecting to your local Postgres. Keep going, keep going. Keep going. Panic DB problems. Keep going. Let's just make sure that the console log statement. Keep going. Keep going. Generous amounts of scrolling. Keep going. It's this. There we go. Connecting to local database. Okay, so it was connecting to your local Postgres.
Okay.
Have you had problems connecting to your local Postgres?
But it didn't connect it to DB successfully. It wasn't showing that one. So
It's strange. It's connecting to your local. Show me DBJS real quick.
I think you're using Max as code. You have to change it to your local Postgres for it to connect.
Yeah, let's see DBJS here. So on line 18, it's upset about hack upstate. It's saying that there's not a user or a role called hack upstate. Does anybody have anything different for their local?
Yeah, like Elbow was saying, you gotta change it to yours. We ran into that problem a lot before too.
When you say yours, what do you mean? Like your a username?
Each one of us have our own local host, like our computer at localhost 50.
The best way to find what yours is, Kalai, for me to look for it, is just open up Postgres. It'll be that first like container. It might have your initials or like something like that, but that's gonna be like the one you want to point to.
that's my
If you open up like that little elephant.
I think she got it though. We're getting a different error.
it's same like my username.
So see, we're getting a different error. If you scroll up, it's saying that there's a missing column. So scroll up a little bit. Let's keep reading the error out. Yeah, I think the password reset token, if you scroll down, that's where the error is. Scroll down, keep going, scroll down, 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 down. You're going up, go down.
Oh, sorry.
There. So scroll up a little bit more. It'll be a couple more lines up. Keep going. Stop. Password reset token does not exist. So it's saying that the table that's in your database and what's in your code don't match. So this error missing column doesn't exist in the table. The easiest way to reconcile this would probably be to just drop the tables in Postgres and let the app recreate them. But all that to say, it's running locally. It's just crashing because the database is messed up. I think you're in a good spot to still continue the deploy.
Yeah, thank you.
Sorry, my headphones just crashed on me. Let's switch. All right, we are starting to push past time. So what I want to do is pause here, and I think most, maybe half of the class is close-ish to a working blog backend. The good news is that once we get this working for the blog backend, all we have to do is take the front end code and upload it. Now, some of the changes that we made to the blog backend we'll need to do to our capstone, because we're editing code in the blog backend. Obviously, we're not changing our capstone code. So the same rules will apply for whatever state of code your capstone is in. We'll have to make the port change. We'll have to make the course change. We'll have to, if you have the same race condition that was in the blog where we set up the database and create models at the exact same time, if that issue is in your capstone, we'll need to fix that. But besides those code changes, everything in the capstone and everything in the front end, we should be able to upload and just have work once we have this blog backend working. So you're very, 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 very close. And we literally have all day tomorrow, all class tomorrow to get this running. So so you're doing great, and don't stress out about this. I'm not stressed about this. I just, the one thing that I'm trying to avoid is I want to make sure that people walk away tomorrow and we have enough time. I want people to walk away feeling like they have their capstone under control, and don't feel like they're stressed. And I think the only way to bring the stress level down is to get a working capstone, and that's what I want so badly for all of you. So. And we will achieve it. We will achieve it tomorrow. I am totally confident that we'll be able to get it. If we don't, then we'll do one-on-ones. We'll do office hours. I'll do whatever it takes, and I won't quit until your capstone's working.
So
Promise.
for the blog that we're doing right now, pretty much uploaded already the front end, and we are doing the back end right now. So if back end is working, it's pretty much all put together, or do we need more for the blog?
So there's one, I keep saying this, there's one more piece. It is the fact that if you look at your blog front end, you'll notice that the blog front end talks to localhost still. It makes API calls to localhost still. That won't work, right? The front end shouldn't be making calls to your computer. So we need to change that in the front end. So we'll stop making backend code changes. We'll change the front end to point to our deployed backend. Then the front end will be happy, back end will be happy, and the front end will be talking to the back end. And we just ran out of time tonight, so unfortunately I can't squeeze that in, but it is what it is. Anybody got any questions or comments before we break for the night? Thank you for sticking through this. I know we had a couple of hurdles, and I appreciate everyone's patience getting through it.
Your help.
Cool.
Nathan, you're still gonna help me real quick, right? After class?
Yes, if anybody wants to stick around, I've got about 13 minutes to hack my stuff. So feel free to stick around for 13 minutes. All right, have a great evening, and see everybody tomorrow.
Thank you. Good night.
Good, everyone.
Cool, go for it.
All right. So, let's see. I should